I'm Ray Spriggs from San Diego originally, and I studied environmental health sciences here, got my Master of Public Health at UCLA. In high school, I loved chemistry. It was like my favorite subject. So entering undergrad at UC Berkeley, I decided to study chemistry and medicine. I wanted to bridge the two somehow. And in my first chemistry class at UC Berkeley, I really struggled with the isolation I was feeling. I just felt like there were no really people of color. All of my TAs were not people of color, and I just didn't really feel supported. I just remember like walking into my first Chem 1A lab at UC Berkeley and just seeing like hundreds of students. There had to be at least like 300 people in this room and like no black people. So already just feeling this like imposter syndrome initially, like right off the bat, like walking into the class and being like, do I belong here? Yeah, so that was just like a perfect storm for me to feel like very pushed out really quickly. And I feel like that happens everywhere. So I took public health classes, and then I kind of randomly stumbled into environmental health through this random bioethics class that I took. In that class, I learned about environmental justice, and I just became really like passionate about it. I just saw a lot of connections to my own personal life. Back in San Diego, I grew up directly next to the 805 freeway, which is like a major freeway in San Diego that goes all the way up to LA. And at the age of 3, I was diagnosed with asthma. My younger brother, who's 10 years younger than me, also was diagnosed with asthma, and he grew up in that house. And we have 2 older siblings who are 9 and 8 years older than me, so they're 19, 18 years older than him. They didn't grow up there, and so they don't have any respiratory issues. Our mother doesn't have any respiratory issues. And that was just like really striking for me to like go to college, not know anything about the connection between my asthma and where I lived, and then learn about it in a class. So I became really passionate about it. In that process though, things work really funny. Like the way things work is just hilarious. My urban planning advisor connected me to Aradhna Tripathi, who's the faculty director at CDLS, and I just told her my story like I'm telling you, and she was just like, you're the reason why we do this work. She asked me to apply to be a fellow, so I applied, and I started working with her, writing grant proposals, building strategic initiatives. I graduated in March. Woo. Thank you. Yeah, with my MPH, and now I'm full-time at the center, so that's how I'm here. She's just like this brilliant woman of color who's just like stands up for herself and people like her, and she just pushes everyone that she meets to you know, continue their path in STEM, and even if they haven't thought about STEM, she'll get them to think about STEM. Yeah, retention is so low for underrepresented students. 4 out of 5 students of color that attempt to study STEM and attempt to get a degree don't successfully graduate with a STEM degree, and that's just like sad and like maddening. And the main reasons are isolation and lack of resources. So CDLS essentially comes in to bridge the gap. Like, what are they missing? They're missing this sense of belonging, this sense of community, and role models, and then they're missing the resources. Like, they're not being financially supported, they don't know how to access tutoring, office hours, counseling. And so CDLS really like creates this space that brings all of these things that are needed to be successful in STEM together. And then also, it's such a safe space and such a creative space that even if you're not studying STEM, there's still a place for you in CDLS. Being a scientist is not just about practicing the science in a lab. It's not just about churning out papers and furthering academia and like those fields. It's also about giving back, right? Like, we're doing the science for a reason. Like, we want to give back to our community. And that can look a lot of different ways. So that's why outreach at CDLS is so broad. We have a lot of programs of outreach, and each of them are kind of more meaningful to students based on, you know, their interests, their background, where they grew up, etc. My ultimate hope is that 5 to 10 years down the road, there is no need for a program like CDLS. That the workforce, that higher education is just super diverse, and there are role models everywhere, and like that is what it is. I just see this really strong commitment to diversity and inclusion, and it's going to show up no matter what space I'm in. Like, I'm just going to find a way to incorporate it because it's just at the core of who I am, and it's going to be at the core of my work no matter what I'm doing. Whether I go on to do a PhD, I'm going to study my community. Like, whether I go on to be a writer, wherever I end up, I know that this will be a big part of what I do.